Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Summit presentation. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between MUFC and Mineski here. These two teams are going into the quarterfinals of the AMD Premier League. These guys are in this best of three, and one man enters, one man walks away. Not champion, but one that can progress on into those semifinals there. But either way, these two teams have a lot to prove here, and we'll see exactly what we have going on. Of course, MUFC probably the favorite, but I've honestly heard a lot of good things about Mineski recently as well. So we'll see exactly what we're looking at for these teams. I know that Team Mineski previous round took down VC Gaming. So that, or VC Gaming number 2, that's kind of important. But took them down, so very, very effective. And we'll be seeing what they bring to the table here. Either way, I myself am Blaze. This is a Beyond the Summit presentation, and I have now a different co-caster. This time around, it's going to be Vickerman. How's it going, man?
Hey man, it's going pretty well. I'm excited to see this game. MUFC, I mean, great team. They have fantastic drafts. Their execution since they've been sort of boot camping has just been getting better and better. And Mineski always a team that, because they bring that hardcore Southeast Asian, super aggressive Pinoy style to the table, they could take it out here. I don't know. We'll have to see. I do want to ask, so which part of so I haven't been following the tournament. Where in the format are we? Is the quarterfinals?
That is correct. Quarterfinals is now. We've already seen 3 teams advance forward into the semifinals, so we're kind of deciding the last team here.
And so is it single elimination or double?
It is single elimination, yeah.
Ooh, so in this best of 3, one of these teams is going home, basically.
Exactly.
All right. And so we have 1 or 2 semifinalist teams already determined.
3, I think, yeah. We just determined
so
the previous one, and then we had 2 the day before, so.
Oh, okay. And the winner of this is against Zenith, or?
Yes, exactly.
Ooh, wow. That should be exciting. Whoever takes this out is going to be pretty well positioned to tackle them. But Zenith, of course, looking super scary as well. I wasn't sure if they'd after that game, too.
Yeah.
It was so dragged out. That was a crazy, crazy game. Hopefully we'll get a game that good this time. I think probably shorter. Neither of these teams really drag things out too much. I know that MUFC, even when they sort of take a hard carry and try to go over the top, they still try to finish stuff not later than about 30 to 35 minutes. And Mineski, of course, they like to go for the throat pretty early as well. So I don't think we'll get a 65-minute duel, but we might. Who knows?
Now, just as a reminder for those guys that don't know about it, in all fairness, there are 2 Beyond the Summit streams active right now, and we do have some of the We Play playoffs going on, so that'll be an interesting match. If you guys are more interested in the Western scene, that is something that you guys can definitely check out. It's EG versus Liquid, and that's by Merlini and Luminous, but over here on BTS2, we are still covering this, myself and Vickermond, covering up this match here, and it should be an awesome one as well. So, yeah, looking into this here, as far as the draft goes, pretty standard stuff. The Queen of Pain and Lone Druid being highly prioritized, no surprise there. And, of course, the Bat Rider and the Lifesteal taken out from MUFC. So, the Nyx Assassin first pick, the Shadow Demon and Darkseer second pick. How do you feel about things starting off this way?
I think both teams just so far are drafting just completely solid. MUFC, I'm interested by this Darkseer pick, even though obviously Darkseer is very, very common, not that exotic. They don't play it that much, and this is a somewhat defensive draft that MUFC are doing so far. You see, these are 2 heroes, neither of whom just, take over the game by themselves. They're more part and parcel of a larger strategy. The Shadow Demon, probably for Winter, paired up with something like a Lina for Ling, most likely. But also these are 2 illusion-generating heroes, so this is also insurance against something like Anti-Mage, Phantom Lancer, some of the hard carries where you can make illusions of them. They actually steal out the Lesh, but we'll see if MUFC go for the Lina or if it goes to second ban phase. If so, it will get banned.
Yeah, lots of different options here as far as how to play this out, but the Nyx Leshrac going to be a pretty strong combo for just generally a lot of burst damage. Also, the Mana Burn's solid against Darkseer with his relatively high intellect. It's one of the few things that can take him out pretty early, but we do see the Dragon Knight picked up. Now, in the Eastern scene especially, you can see Dragon Knight laned a couple of different ways. Could be in the tri-lane, of course, can follow up the disruption with Dragon Tail, but very, very often we see him as kind of a hard pushing presence in the mid with the Flame Breath and, of course, that Green Dragon form to burn down towers pretty quickly. So if he gets a melee versus melee matchup against Magnus, he should be pretty well off. Both of them will just kind of use their spells to spam out a little bit. But if he does go on that tri-lane, I think there's a lot of kill potential there as well.
This is almost certainly TFG on the DK mid, unless they're trying to do something sort of non-traditional and clever, like purposefully try to show the Dragon Knight early to make it look like it's mid and then switch it. I think this is probably DK mid, and that's a fine matchup. They're actually basically the same hero mid. Like, they both just Bottle Crow and spam out their AoE Q. Like, it's Dragon Breath for Dragon Knight and Shockwave for Magnus. Not really a favored lane for either player.
Yeah.
The question from UFC is, do they use this Dragon Knight to underpin a more overall push strategy? Like, do they do the VG thing and try to add on Juggernaut, maybe even another hero on top of that? We'll have to see if Jug actually makes it through the picks, but I think it's possible that Hontrash ends up on that tri-lane Jug.
I haven't seen too much like Chen or Enchantress in the Eastern scene thus far from what I've been able to cast, but I do think that Shadow Demon plus Chen on the top lane with a Juggernaut or something like that could be very, very dangerous, and right now they seem to be picking off all the more standard Shadow Demon couplings as far as supports go. They take out the Lina, they take out the Keep It Light, which would have been great, don't get me wrong, but if they try to go for something a little bit more micro-oriented like the Chen going in to try to put some heavy push pressure out, how do you think that'll fare?
For MUFC?
Yes.
They could go for something like Chen. I kind of think they won't. I don't usually see MUFC picking it up. It doesn't quite give them the sort of killing potential. In some respect it does, because Chen can obviously come out of the jungle if he gets the right creeps. But especially if Darkseer ends up facing a very difficult tri-lane, which he might, and he has to be relegated to the jungle, they probably don't want to split the jungle two ways. I'm kind of watching out for the Pocket Visage pick. It's a little tough with Shadow Demon. Like, they need a carry that can actually deal additional damage so that you can get the stacks up for the... my brain is blanking. The Soul Assumption. But actually, Mineski steals the Juggernaut out from under them. So this is definitely a tactical, sort of strategic, take the Jug so they can't have it.
100% agree with that. I mean, the Shadow Demon Juggernaut would have been extremely strong with the push that they already have active, but, I mean, Juggernaut Leshrac together will be performing quite effectively as well. They've got a great tri-lane. Juggernaut will be able to carry up decently, and then, of course, he just has so much push potential. So, taking out of MUFC's hands limits their draft a little bit. What Mineski was able to accomplish, knowing they had first pick, is essentially do 4 bans for the price of 3, and then just pick up a really, really strong carry for themselves.
Right. No, I like this from Mineski. I'm generally a little bit leery of just drafting heroes just because you don't want the other team to have them. You were right. There's the Chen.
Sweet.
So yeah, I think this definitely works. This does mean that they have great pushing potential with the DK, even if they don't have the Jug, which they don't. And yeah, I mean, this puts basically them in the position of there's still quite a few decent number ones left in the pool. I know Hontrash plays Luna a lot. I think we might see that here.
Probably,
but there's a couple other options as well for that safe lane.
Yeah, I actually really like the idea of the Luna in this situation. Get a Dominator up relatively early, and you got that much presence for either the Dragon Knight or the Luna to take down the Ancients rather effectively. And then she has a lot of push pressure with the Lunar Blessing and such, as well as some good teamfight presence. It's kind of a nice mix and match of all their different kits. But right now we see something very interesting come on through. I'm assuming an aggressive tri-lane of Leshrac, Nyx Assassin, and Juggernaut. Would that leave Morphling solo, or are they going to tri-lane with the Morphling and leave Juggernaut on the solo safe lane?
Ooh, no, I think it's almost certainly solo Morph to go up against Darkseer and the aggressive tri, like you said. Aggressive tri-lane with Morphling is really risky. I don't think it would actually be that good of an idea. They could do it, but just the base damage is a problem. I don't know. It would be very, very iffy to me. Solo is fine. He's not that unfavored against Darkseer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll have the best time of his life. His base damage, like you said, isn't the best for last hitting, but he still will be able to accomplish things and come out with better levels. If he starts moving across the map with a rank 4 waveform, that's actually going to be putting on the hurt very, very quickly. So I definitely think that either one will work to an extent, but yeah, we used to see Morphling tri-lanes a lot more so a year or two ago, and now we're not seeing so much at all. So we'll see exactly how it plays on out, but in this position, they have to put one in a farm prioritization position and one in a kill prioritization position, and it's just which one fits the bill most appropriately. And now MUFC have to decide that for themselves as well, deciding on how they want to draft for their final pickup here. Like we said, Dragonite is probably going to be in the mid by TFG, and that would leave a carry pickup here. Morphling Juggernaut taken out, as well as the Anti-Mage and the Alchemist, which they took out themselves.
This Morphling pick, I want to talk about it because it's actually it's a very clever thing Mineski have done. On the one hand, I'm kind of concerned because they've put themselves in the position where they have one hero that absolutely needs to fantastically farm. And generally when you're the underdog, I feel like you want to give yourself a low margin of error lineup, and I feel as though they've given themselves a fairly high margin of error one. The flip side of that is, because of the way MUFC drafted, Mineski knew 100% that MUFC basically have to run a safe lane tri-lane. Like, you're not going to send Chen into the opposing jungle and try to do that. It's just way too iffy. So that means that no matter what, Joven's Morphling is going to be just fine on that bottom lane.
So, yeah, Contrast player in a good position here, but, yeah, I'm really, really curious to see how this plays itself out exactly. So, as far as the pickups right now, it definitely looks like they want to be pretty aggressive with what they're looking at. The big thing is, of course, when the Magnus, standard stuff, when Magnus gets his RP, and even more so when he gets his Blink Dagger, how much of an impact he's going to make. But, honestly, MUFC have drafted up a rather tanky team, in my opinion. By having the Darkseer, of course, he's just naturally very, very durable. But then you have the Dragonite with his Dragon's Blood to survive on through a lot of right-click damage, including Omni Slash, Waveform, the Morphling when he has a lot of agility up. Those things won't be that big of a deal for him. And then, of course, we're also going to be seeing the potential of the Hand of God to keep people alive, and the Gyrocopter to build a couple of good durability items. So it seems to be a pretty interesting matchup right now. We are seeing FZ go towards the top lane now, but he should be heading back towards that mid very, very shortly. So, you want to go through the roster a little bit?
Sure, I'll go through Mineski. They do always use these complicated aliases. So this is, in the tri-lane, it will be Yanni on the Juggernaut, Oa on the Nyx Assassin, and Geo on the Leshrac. And it's interesting, actually. I think Oa he doesn't usually play support, but I do see him on that here. In the mid, it'll be Jay on the Magnus, and then the solo safe lane, hard farming, is Joven up on that Morphling.
Okay, I'm actually fixing your name on the stream, so why don't you go through the other one while we're at it?
Sure. All right. So MUFC, meanwhile, riding high right now. They sort of want to take this out and move on to the semifinals. We've got Winter on the Shadow Demon, FZFZ on the Dragonite. So we'll have to actually see. I think that's probably the mid. Gyrocopter piloted by Hontrash player, and then that leaves Ling on the Chen, and who did I miss? TFG on the Darkseer.
Okay. Very, very interesting. So, yeah, TFG will be heading down there. FCFC, DK. Okay, so we're going to have DK mid, but this time picked up by FZ, and we're going to have TFG go on the offlane role in this circumstance. Now, he's going to be up against, right now, it looks like Nyx Assassin Juggernaut. Are we seeing like a 2-1-2? Like, what is this?
That's the current position that Mineski are in. We actually have Jay and Geo on the Leshrac and Magnus at the top.
What?
This is very strange. The main concern I have for this is not... So we actually have seen a little bit of resurrection of 2-1-2, so it's not the 2-1-2 I'm going to complain about. It's the Morphling mid. I kind of don't see how Joven wins this lane. Like, his base damage is just so... Actually, he's pooled quite a bit, so he has 65 damage right now. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Actually has substantially better damage than FCFZ, so I take it back. Maybe they pulled enough for this to work.
Yeah. What he did was he started off with Morph and did a little bit of Agimorphing in the Fountain, so he has only 9 strength, which means that he's going to get harassed hard, but DK only has so much harassment to bring in, so unless there's a lot of damage coming the other direction, he's actually going to be okay. He'll get his bottle relatively quickly, and the less agility he has, the better in that situation. And then, yeah, they're going to be rotating around a little bit. Maybe Leshrac babysits the Morphling sometimes. Maybe he goes down to gank and roam down on the Darkseer. So whatever ends up happening, Razor is not going to be having that bad of a spot here going up against the DK. And
right. No, the one thing is this puts Geo in a very difficult position is the only thing, because this Leshrac is basically needed in every single lane.
Yeah.
So Morphling is going to need the Lesh to help against DK. Magnus is going to need the Lesh to help him sort of survive this lane, just because he doesn't have any skewer yet. Like, he leveled Shockwave first, so it's tough to escape. And then they kind of need the third player here to oppress TFG's Darkseer. And so this puts just a ton on Geo's shoulders. Is he capable of taking it? Maybe he is.
Up on top, Disruption and the big, big damage coming out through from the Gyrocopter is going to be able to harass him back down to below half HP here. Just Rocket Barrage doing so much work there. But other than that, he is still surviving, and the lane has been pushing out a little bit. Not so much as far as stacking. Like, I'm absolutely astonished that he's not stacking this pull camp right here, as he still has the full opportunity to do so. But either way, not getting as much of an opportunity there, assuming the Chen will pretty much cover up the jungle activities. And although it looks like the Morphling is taking a lot of hits, he still is able to kind of stand his ground. Tango and Salve up, he will be able to last hit pretty hard, and right now, he's actually near the top of the board, sitting at 11 himself, compared to that of the Dragonite 6. He's not doing too shabby whatsoever.
Yeah, Joven is doing very well. He actually just afforded his trouble, a little bit of trouble for TFG, but they missed the Split Earth bottom, so he's fine to walk out of here. The one thing I want to say, Morphling is so great with bottle, too. Now that he actually has the bottle afforded and is going to have it delivered, due to the way that Morph works and how it manipulates your stats, bottle's just very, very excellent to actually help him in the mid. So if you reach bottle, you're already in decent shape. FCFC actually, I mean, he's kind of struggling here. He's 7 for 2, and the lane keeps pushing up.
Yeah, exactly. So Morphling last hitting under tower as best he can, and seems to be having some relatively good success there. And yeah, as you were mentioning, just bottle Tango. If he bottle crows, even better, but he doesn't even have to in some situations just because it's so very powerful that he'll always have enough HP and mana to go for the runes. The question is if he wants to, because one big drawback of Morphling is some of the slowest movement speed in the game. Like, he has only 285 base, and so more often you're just going to see him kind of set up shop in the lane and not really choosing to maneuver around in different directions. But we do see the smoke. Very great positioning for this smoke coming out of a Winter and the Chen. They are ready to go in towards the mid lane, and there's absolutely no way that it could have been observer warded from that position. So they're in a great spot. They have their Centaur clap, and they're looking for their opportunity to try to bring the Morphling down. The problem is waveform being such a great escape. They're going to have to chain up the Dragon Tail with the Centaur stun perfectly, but we'll see if they can actually get the jump on her, if they're just going to go right on down towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, I don't think they'll actually go for Joven. I think he's actually too safe at this point. But what they can do is disrupt this tri-lane here. Note that the levels for... Oh, okay, they're going to go for it right now.
Looking for the disruption. He gets it on the left track. That is going to be an opportunity to stun him out, but instead they're not going to get the Centaur clap due to a good impale coming in from Owa. Here is that Iron Shell damage, though, and they're going to be able to finish him off here. First blood spilled for the Darkseer, so TFG going to be in a pretty good solid spot, and now forcing them back here. Farming up the jungle. They have kind of taken the reins down on this Radiant bottom tri-lane.
Interesting that they don't have vision on either of the wards. You actually see, on either of the rune spots, you actually see Shadow Demon taking it. So they're going to stay in here and sort of feint that Chen is just here too late, and then try to use Winter to bait out a response to the supports. Because the supports really are low level for Mineski. Like, part of it is that Geo roamed early, but just in general, they've really struggled bringing these supports into the fight. I do like what they've done with Jay. As soon as he sees that the MUFC supports are actually bottom, he's come back into this top lane, which he was driven out of before. And this will help the Magnus catch up on levels. This is probably trouble for OA still, though, as soon as TFG rotates over.
Yeah. For good movement, they do actually start off with this disruption. There is going to be the Centaur clap connecting actually a little early, and he's going to go for the Carapace. He's still surviving. This is actually bad for them, but the burst of the Test of Faith with that Soul Catcher doing too much here. Spin going out from Yanni, almost finishing off. One more right click should do it here, and Darkseer doesn't fall. Gets the block, gets the Sal back up, and he'll be back into not only fight another day, but possibly try to close this team fight out. So, yeah, in the end, not too much going out. We do see that they did get the pick on the Nyx Assassin through good Soul Catcher. Lucky roll in the Test of Faith. But beyond that, just kind of chalking up to luck there, as they're not really able to secure anything else.
Well, even just getting the kill, now that they're ahead on levels, these two supports, they can spend a lot of time in this sort of bottom jungle just making this tri-lane miserable. And when Yanni's alone, he's going to have much more trouble actually last hitting against TFG just because of the position of Ion Shell. So MUFC, I think, in good shape, except for the fact that Joven is just really dominating mid. I feel bad for ever doubting him, because he's just comfortably winning here. 31 over 18 to 15 over 3. Like, this Morphling is getting as much as he would possibly get in a solo lane, possibly more. Like a solo safe, I mean. Yeah,
and that's, of course, the solo levels certainly help, because he does get to improve his stats very, very quickly. But on top of that, it's really his relation. Sitting at 19 base at a ratio of strength and 49 for the agility, he's in a confident position. Not sure why Dragon Knight's actually popping off the Elder form here at all, honestly. I don't have any reasoning for that, but
it's to stay in the lane. Morphling is actually now in a position where he's able to harass the Dragon Knight pretty constantly, and so being able to just move back or respond with the long-range stun is useful. Actually, they picked off TFG because mispositioning from Ling.
Interesting. So do you want to break down how that went through?
No, I was watching this.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, they keep on ganking it up. The fact of the matter is they have such an active lineup, but the problem is where they put their resources. They have a Troll Warlord, great ganking potential, but if they leave their Darkseer high and dry and he's not in a position to get on out of there, building Arcane Boots before tank so that they can keep the gank train rolling can allow them to be very, very aggressive, but by themselves, individually, they're not very tanky, and a little bit of easy burst should be enough to bring them down, especially with this power stun combo and, of course, that devastating spin.
That's actually very good for Mineski to get on the board there, because this tri-lane actually is struggling. Like, they're struggling to do better than TFG is in this lane. They try to sort of counter-strike here, but MUFC are already leaving, because now they have great vision. Like, now they have wards knowing exactly what Mineski are planning in their own jungle. So FCFC can be very safe and just walk back. And this is a really under-farmed Dragon Knight. Like, he's really struggling to get on the board, so it's definitely good to prevent him from also dying.
So Tread's already up for Morphling. Really, really strong item set for him. He can, of course, still balance out his stats back and forth, but most importantly, just pick up on that movement speed that's been so far lacking, because he's been just he wants to be mobile, he wants to be active, but right now waveform is his only tool to jump on into things, and it's not been as effective as it needs to be because the problem is once you jump into an aggressive position, there's not too much to get you out unless you have your ultimate active, because it does have a substantial cooldown, and it's going to take you a little while to actually maneuver. But they haven't been pressuring the morph. He feels rather confident about this position, and even bottle up a little bit here, and yeah, he is going to force FC back once more. So even if he has a double damage run, really Morphling cares very little about that situation and is just going to be able to farm away and come out nearly on top. Gyrocopter, the only one barely able to top out since he's the one 1v1ing the Magnus. Disruption and Soul Catcher active. They're going to be able to bring down Lesh quickly with this very nice Dragon Tail movement. So Chen does pick up the kill here. ABC deciding that he definitely needs the gold as quickly as possible to get the mechanism. But now they can kind of turn this into a little bit of pressure on bottom as well. Healing Ward used by the Juggernaut. He does have that Omni Slash, and they have to be careful. But right now, still far from his drums and in a pretty desperate position down on the bot lane.
MUFC are basically pinching everybody except for Morphling. So Jay has been able to find his levels, but you can see he's nowhere near Arcane Boots even. And Hontrash picked up a lot of last hits. They're very good farm, and the tier 1 tower, so that frees up that area for MUFC as well. Basically at this point, the two things they have to worry about are A, RP, so RP landing on them would be a big issue, and just at some point they're going to have to deal with Joven. Not yet, but at some point.
Yeah. Exactly, and they are just kind of going to be putting on the hurt on very quickly. They have a Shadow Amulet up on the Gyrocopter, so he'll be having his blade up very shortly. It won't be much of a surprise since he did go for the Amulet first, but we do see this burst damage coming on out on top of Yanni. The right clicks will be there, and they actually get the net from the Dark Troll Warlord, so Dark Troll Summoner. So with that, they bring him down, and they can take the tower very easily. Creep skipping with the Iron Shell, that's maxed out, and they are just going to be able to lay waste to this tier 1 tower here. Really good movement, getting the pick on the Juggernaut, who's probably the most important to stop the aggression. We do see coming on in, Joven doing a lot of damage here. The waveform will go, but unfortunately with the disruption, they're still going to get a lot of damage here. Big RP coming out. Oh, right clicks are here to follow it up, and a lot of damage going across. There is going to be FC jumping on in, almost bringing down the Nyx Assassin, now finishing off the Morphling, turning this around on towards the Leshrac. Iron Shell taken away, the stun will miss, and they will clean up another kill. So 4, actually 5 total when you count the Juggernaut, who got picked off initially, and they of course take the tower along with it. So huge swing for MUFC, and this is, yeah, where the gloves are off, and they just start bringing the pain. Omni Slash coming out, but Magic Stick keeping him alive. Will he survive? No. The spin finishes him off. The Darkseer caught out a little bit, just stayed a bit too long, overstayed his welcome, but he is okay. He's going to be able to bounce back with some good durable items. And that mechanism is almost up on the Chen. Has that recipe and just has to build up the buckler now.
It's a nice consolation prize for Yanni, especially considering he died and had to sit out all that fight. Picking up a kill at the tail end will finish off his drums, which is good. But overall, that fight went really poorly for Mineski. I mean, they lost the tower, they lost the jug to start. Morphling came in, didn't find a kill, died. It's just, when your Morphling has been doing so well, when he's the good news, you don't want him to just drop very quickly. But unfortunately, MUFC, they brought everybody over. I think Mineski maybe weren't anticipating it becoming a 4 vs 5, but it was, and Gyrocopter is just as big as Morph is. And you can see that Dragon Knight now feels just so much more comfortable after that fight. He's just sort of, if Morphling comes in, he's immediately responding with a Dragon Breath the instant Morph comes, and an auto attack. That takes Morph to about 3/4, and at that point you kind of can't stay, because you can always just get a Dragon Tail hit on you, and if any of their supports rotate over, you're just dead.
Exactly. And that can be very dangerous for him. And the big thing about Morphling is to do damage early to him, so he has to feel pressured to Strength Morph. If he's Strength Morphed, he's dealing less damage, he's able to harass less, and he just has far less impact on small fights as much as little ones. And we do see the build-up. We're going to see another Shadow Blade coming out, this one for FZFC. He's going to have a huge amount of aggressive potential, and they're kind of saying, like, okay, you guys draft off a Nyx, we'll just buy one. Picking up the Gyrocopter, his huge burst of Invis damage, and same thing with the DK. And the best part about FZ with a soon-to-be Shadow Blade will be the fact that they can close on in and guarantee that the Dragon Tail to stun out anybody that they want to bring down quickly.
Right. The thing for Mineski here is that I think they realized that MUFC realized that as good of a start as Morphling had, we're 12 minutes into the game. There's no sufficiently good Morphling start that will just cause him to like win teamfights by himself at 12 minutes. And so MUFC were just perfectly comfortable taking that fight at Tier 1 because they knew that in a vacuum they just had an advantage. Like RP landed, it was a good RP, but let's keep in mind Jay didn't even have Arcane Boots there. Like he had mana enough to RP and maybe like one Shockwave and a Skewer. So it's just not that much damage coming from Magnus. It's not that much from Morphling. Doesn't help that the waveform whiffed because there was a good defensive disruption. And lacking that, Mineski just can't chew through MUFC. It's not going to happen quite yet.
Yeah, and it's going to get harder, honestly. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Chen has the mechanism coming up in the courier. And as far as just the supportive levels, we see that the Shadow Demon has already gotten to level 6, and the Chen has hit up level 7, so they're getting bigger and bigger very, very quickly. They have that extra 250 HP heal now, and I'm honestly not even sure if the reverse polarity will cut it. I mean, of course, they do have the follow-up, the AoE damage of the lightning, the spin, and the waveform. It's just really about timing and positioning and making sure that that RP is in the best position to make things happen. But honestly, MUFC know how big of an advantage they have, and that's why they're going for Roche here.
Right. You made a really good point about the RP. One of the things that makes RP so good is that it condenses, not just that it's an AoE stun, it's that it condenses people into a very small area for your AoEs to take effect. But Mineski's AoEs, they're not that dramatic. They have, obviously they have Blade Fury, they have Waveform, and they have Leshrac stuff. But this is a level 4 Leshrac. Like, he's not dealing much in the way of AoE damage at all. It's that clever rotation from MUFC where after they secured the top lane and just prevented a few early levels for Jay, they immediately moved to the bottom jungle and just completely pinched Mineski out there. And I'm not even sure what exactly Mineski should have done to respond to that, because by the time that MUFC rotated over, they already had a support level advantage, and that only got bigger and bigger to the point where it is now.
Yeah. But I kind of feel like they signed themselves up for this just a little bit with their early roaming from the support, starting out kind of doing 2-1-2 and then roaming Geo down towards the bot lane. And that hesitancy, they knew that there were going to be some limitations to their draft, and they're just trying to play their lineup to its strength rather than worry about all its weaknesses right now. So Morphling is doing good. That's a silver lining there, where of course Morphling, as time goes by, will be more and more relevant. And actually, I believe he can outcarry individually, of course, the Dragon Knight and the Gyrocopter. So it's just about him taking on the two of them with the Juggernaut on his back. And he's not doing too bad either. The Phase Drum combo allows him to stay on target so that even after the Omni Slash, he will be able to deliver some spin or right-click damage. And I really, really think that they could take an engagement if they either pick off the Chen really quickly so that he only gets to mech himself, or if they go ahead and just kill him so that he doesn't have Hand of God or mech at all. So that's going to be the big factor, is whether or not Chen is involved in the fight and how quickly he dies.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, the nice thing about being Morphling here is that you don't have to solo out carry both Gyrocopter and Dragon Knight. Juggernaut is sort of just about as much of a carry as Dragon Knight is. Juggernaut has the passive crit, which is a little more carry-ish, but Dragon Knight, of course, has the AoE slow when he hits level 16, which is also a huge deal. So Morphling mostly going to be focusing on sort of dueling Hontrash player and picking off people like Chen early. The tough thing for Mineski is, I feel like their supports right now might just die in the first 10 seconds of a fight. And if you lose the supports that early, it doesn't matter how big Morphling is, he's going to have to beat a hasty retreat and start morphing strength sooner or later.
Exactly. Still turning it up, still trying to find that Blink Dagger. That timing is essential for them to actually, if they had the Blink already, then they would have been able to defend that tier 2 in that position. They could have gotten an amazing RP off, but MUFC, knowing that that's not a feasible option for him with how shut down he was on the off lane, they are very comfortable to take that kind of advantage. And now we see the net worth. 3 heroes above that of Morphling and Juggernaut. We have the Darkseer and then the Dragon Knight and Gyrocopter. All 3 of them doing extremely well. And actually we see the triple Ring of Regen coming after Darkseer. So that pipe will be online at relatively good time. And that limits even further the wombo combo potential of this AoE damage.
Right. Mineski have been very good about using the map to farm, actually. Like, their last hits look very good if you have that screen open, but then you sort of look at something like GPM and you're like, oh, right. They're down 3 towers and 5 kills, and Hontrash player has never died. And so they need more than just good creep farm. A little bit of trouble for Geo, maybe. No, Joven's going to cover him.
We do have a Shadow Bladed up Gyrocopter, though. They were trying to force the issue there. They had a good Observer Ward. They had the Invisible Darkseer, breaks it out, but unfortunately they don't take the bait. So just going to go in and do that consistent push very, very gradually and take advantage of the fact that we still don't see that RP available. Or it's available, but no blink. Sorry about that.
Right. It's not the perfect Vengeful Spirit plus Enigma plus every other hero that Magnus can bring to the table sometimes. They lost their Centaur Conquerors. That's actually no extra AoE stun here.
Do you think that MUC should keep on forcing the issue here with the fact that they do have that mechanism up in 30 seconds, or...?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, every creep wave, they did lose all of their Chen stuff, so that's kind of a problem. But they can probably get at least this tier 2. I would peel off after that. But Mineski can't really punish without the Blink Dagger. Like, you Yep.
Stun Carapace there. Oh, beautiful vacuum coming on in. Magnus can't get the RP. Whiffs it entirely. Huntrash player doing so much damage right here. Right clicks come through. He will not survive, but the Aegis keeps him back up and kicking. There is going to be Leshrac on the run. Shouldn't die to the right clicks, but we certainly will see Yanni in over his head. Leshrac did actually die to the right clicks, so a little bit too much damage received. Diving in deep, bringing him down. Darkseer really, really wanted that kill. He certainly got it, but paid for it with his life. Going on this tier 3, the corrosive damage over time from the Dragon Knight is still at work, and they are going to put pressure on that as well. But it all came down to that reverse polarity and the beautiful vacuum coming on out of the Darkseer. That was just really great timing and completely disrupted the potential for a reverse polarity.
All props to TFG there for the excellent vacuum. But just strategically, it's exactly what you said, Blaze. I mean, I think you made a great point that without Blink, Mineski's initiation is really lacking. So if you're Jay as Magnus here, you're forced to use the skewer. He actually did get the blink afterwards, but in that fight he had to skewer in. There's a huge difference between skewering in and blinking in. I mean, the difference is instantaneous versus there's like a Rhino Mantar coming straight at you and you know exactly what you need to do. So MUFC had the opportunity to sort of use something like a vacuum plus call down counter initiation, and the rest is just execution. And I mean, there's a reason this team's invited to TI3. They're playing really, really excellently these days, and they really executed in that fight.
Absolutely on top of the world right now, and yeah, Dragon Knight is closing in on that level 16. He has a really, really high experience per minute. Not that high compared to Gyrocopter, but still, the big thing here is FC is getting levels when you compare him, especially to his Nemesis Morphling that was on the mid lane. So by the fact that he has that experience advantage, can pick up that rank 3 ultimate in a good amount of time, that means that he's going to be a prime player in these follow-up engagements. And right now, Morphling is kind of falling behind. He feels safe to farm whenever his Replicant is active, no matter where he is on the map. But right now, all he's sitting on is one single ultimate orb. Whether that be a Manta or a Scotty or whatever he wants to rush up, it's still right now a very, very cost-inefficient item. It'll be great for slot efficiency. It's really great with his morph capabilities to give him effectively twice as much. I mean, he's getting either right now 20 agility or 20 strength, depending on how he wants to morph it. But it's still kind of limiting when you consider what he's up against.
Right, so the three options here are the traditional morph option, which I think is probably a bad idea, is the Lincolns, but there's very little that he actually needs to critically Lincolns here. There's Purge and Dragon Knight Stun, that's about it. So that is questionable. So I think it probably is Manta, I guess, because Scotty's just, it's going to take too long to make. It's too friggin' expensive. They're coming around the back with smoke.
This could be great. They do have this reverse polarity and the Blink Dagger up. Are they going to get the initiation they need? FC doing tons of damage. Bursting down. Yanni, he's barely surviving. Can't even get the Omni Slash off. They try to skewer away. They're getting devastated right here. Amazing damage coming out of MUFC. This was a terrible fight for them. The RP was used at the last second. The skewer completely threading the needle through everybody. They couldn't get that initiation. The damage was there. They walked right on through the wall. They all went in from the flanking position and then literally just walked right on through, almost trying to run to their base through the opponent, which of course will not work. Great wall of replica, just really, really great damage coming out, and they are just getting trucked right now. Coming on in, the Magnus throwing out some shockwaves, but he doesn't have that RP, and this tier 3 should follow as a result. Oh, Skewer coming in, Blink, Skewer trying to pick off the DK, but as long as he's outside tower range, they can't actually pick him off through that Shadow Blade. They don't have a detection other than the Dust of Appearance on the next Assassin.
And the tier 3, but it just died.
Well, yeah, but he was out of range of it at the time, which is meaning that even if he's skewered there, it's not that bad. Mechanism coming out to negate that Omni Slash. There's a Dragon Tail to lock him down. They're going to turn it around with a call down. They can't even follow it up. Beautiful vacuum. They get the big, big damage coming on through. They cleaned it up on Leshrac at all, and they kill the Nyx. Almost the Morphling even. Strength morphing up. I think he'll get out, but still, so much forthcoming. I almost want to say call GG. Like, this is so painful to watch.
We're talking about Southeast Asia Dodo. Lays, we're not getting a GG, but ouch. I mean, Huntrash, he's just enormous. It's 708 Gyrocopter. He just has this casual morbid mask, basically, and that's life-stealing him a substantial amount because he's dealing so much damage relative to everybody else in the game. That and Jug is just not, like, Yanni is just not contributing that much damage to the fights. Omni Slash, like you said, was basically canceled by Mechanism, and he had nothing else after that. He pretty much just died.
Yeah.
Like, Juggernaut, despite the fact that he's literally named Juggernaut, is not that tanky of a hero, so he just drops.
Ooh, nice defensive disruption. Wow. Yeah, really, really good to keep him up, and there's that vacuum. They do get the skewer off on an illusion, but they're going to keep the Dragon Knight up and kicking, doing damage to the tower and flat canning across the entire team here, so they're falling back. The Healing Ward's still up, but unfortunately that tower will fall, and they'll just take the fact that they've not only brought down 2 racks on the bot, but have exposed 2 on the mid, and now they can go in for whatever pressure they want. Roche will be respawning in just over a minute, and they'll be able to take that advantage with the amount of map control they have. I mean, they're just so strong right now. But they are not going for the AoE damage from the DK yet, but I almost feel like they might as well. Not just, I mean, obviously the tower push is great, but if the amazing vacuums coming out of the Darkseer, I just gotta say, TFG, he's too effing good right now with this kind of initiation. So,
for sure. TFG has had a huge game on that offlane Darkseer. I mean, they will go for the Dragon Knight next. He's certainly not going to go stats for level 15. He's going to level up the 2nd rank and then the 3rd rank. And they were also waiting for the BKB for FCFC. So the one thing is he has been getting locked down a little bit, so that BKB will fix that. And now with the Shadowblade BKB on both Dragon Knight and Gyro, Mineski are in the position that now, even with Blink, they don't really have an initiation or chasing advantage. MUFC can get in, slow Mineski down, and chase them anywhere, including in their own base, just because they're faster. They've been landing these call-down vacuum combos so perfectly that that's providing a lot of slow. I don't know, it's just kind of the complete package, and Mineski are really on the ropes here. I think the next Roshan is easily going to go to MUFC, and then I'm just not sure how Mineski defend the next push. And it is going to be Lincoln's, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the Lincolns. Like, it's defensive, but where's their damage coming from?
Yeah. It's difficult, because without any damage-oriented items, that even the greatest RP is only going to be used to such a limited effect. And, yeah, again, I want to be as optimistic as possible for Mineski's chances right here, but looking at the net worth, the Chen is substantially out-farming the Morphling and every one of his allies. I mean, that's the bleakest thing you can say right now. Is just, what the heck? When a Chen is topping out every single one of your team members, I don't even know. I don't know how to be helpful about this situation. They have to just make some magic happen, because this is very rough.
I mean, they've been 5-man Dota, and it's been successful. Like, they've barely died. Ling's Chen is 2-1-12, only 1 death on Chen, so he's been part of 14 kills and has barely lost any gold. So that's plenty for a Mechanism, Force Staff. He has a Basilius, so probably Vlad's, I would guess. And I don't know, it's just so much coming out. And like, you're absolutely right. Wow, Rapier.
Why not? They got an Aegis, they got some lifesteal on them. Everything you could possibly want. Heck, they could test a Faith them if they really feel uncomfortable about it. So there's the Divine Rapier, and I think that might be what they need to push in here. I think they've got it covered.
This is they're so good, by the way, about stunning those replicants. They didn't actually get it, but every single other time they've picked off that replicate incredibly quickly.
Yeah, now we do see Gyrocopter popping off the BKB, doing tons of damage. That flat cannon going wild, bursting down the Nyx quickly. Juggernaut almost dies next to his fountain for the flat cannon that was homing in on him. He lives with like 10 HP. There is a nice RP. There is a nice skewer. Will they really make anything happen with it? No, the vacuum cancels the split earth. The follow-up damage is there, and they just destroy them. Oh, that split earth timing could have been great, but instead they just get dropped. Great vacuum again.
And the courier.
And
that's just rude.
You know.
Yeah, I think the courier is what did them in. That's what actually gets Mineski.
There you go. They had to save it.
Brutal game, honestly. MUFC, in this game, I think it's fair to say that they kind of outclassed Mineski's performance. Now, I think, like you said, we do have to lay a little bit of the blame at the feet of the overall strategic approach. If you're going to start like feinting into a 2-1-2 and then slowly rotate the Leshrac over, spend a little time in mid, then slowly move over to the bottom, all while you're not managing your own jungle, it opened the door for MUFC to just control the map any way that they wanted to. And the way that they chose was very clever. They were like, okay, mid's not going fantastically, but we know that if we just... we're going to have free farm on Huntrash. At this point, that's a literal guarantee that Gyrocopter will have free farm. So as long as we win that try versus try in the bottom now, it doesn't matter that Morphling is going to have a good start because he won't be big in time to do anything. And really, that's what happens. You see Morph 1-2-2 with part of a Lincoln's at the end of the game. And we were talking about how good his mid lane was. So the Morphling pick, like I said, it gave Mineski sort of a smaller window than I feel like I would be comfortable with if I were them. Just because, like, you know that MUFC can play aggressive. They like to sort of win in this 25 to 30 minute window, and you're picking a hero who in the 25 to 30 minute window has a very low chance of actually being useful. So I don't know. Mineski, obviously, I mean, they have a lot to prove. They were invited to the TI3 quals. They're practicing for that. That's going to be in a couple weeks, I think. So they're going to be against teams that are maybe not as in form as MUFC, but pretty darn close. And I don't know. It's going to be
LGD.
tough.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, LGD. Yeah, exactly.
They had a roster change, bro. But no.
Yeah, roster change back to their TI2 roster, which, as we know, is just terrible.
Unstable completely. Yeah. Who knows? But anyways, this was a fun little game here. Obviously not a nail biter, but still fun to see MUFC just rock and rolling all over. They end up with a Divine Rapier Gyrocopter 26 minutes into the game with a bunch of other items. It's not just the Divine, but my goodness. Gotta give my MVP shout out just automatically over to Ling on the Chen. I mean, he got the GPM, he halahada, he got some Dala, and he played that Shed with a 345 GPM, pushing, killing, and in the end, out-farms the Morphling, so he obviously carried the game. But no, nice action from them as a whole. Really, really fun to cast this game up with you, man, and hopefully the viewers enjoyed it as well. This was Beyond the Summit presentation. I myself am Blaze, and this is Vickermon. You want to plug your stream and stuff real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure. VYKROMOND, Google me. Cheers.
Sounds good. Going on into Game 2 of this Best of 3 series, we'll see if Mineski can get themselves out of a big hole that they have dug and take on MUFC in this next game here. But it's looking rough. We'll see if they can bounce back, change up their strategy, and give us a pretty big match. But either way, thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and we will catch you on the next game.